are in our next session, which is session number 4 for Banking Insights Unplugged. So, these are the real conversations with the experts of the banking industry. And today we have with us Mr. Gyan B. Bara. So, I'll be inviting him in our show today. If I am loud and clear, kindly type L and C in the comment box so that I am sure that my voice is loud and clear to all of you. If you can see me, you can hear me, kindly type L and C in the chat box. Thank you, Abhishek. Kindly type L and C in the chat box. Thank you, everyone. That means I am loud and clear. Uh, and now, if you can type your city and state so that we know कि आप कौन से शहर से हैं, कौन सी स्टेट से हैं. Good evening, everyone. Your city and state in the chat box. So we have from Muzaffarnagar, Uttar Pradesh, Ludhiana, Punjab, Indore, Uttarakhand, Maharashtra, मध्य प्रदेश, यूपी, हिमाचल से भी हैं हमारे पास लोग आज, सहारनपुर यूपी, चंडीगढ़, जलालाबाद. Very nice to see all of you. We have people from Delhi also. हैं हमारे पास लोग आज, उत्तर प्रदेश, गुजरात से, भोपाल से लोग हैं हमारे पास आज. So thank you everyone for joining us today. So let me introduce our guest of today, Mr. Gyan B. Bara. He is retired Deputy General Manager and Head for Investigations and for Financial Crime Prevention Group. So we welcome you, sir, on our LinkedIn Live, which is a session 4, and the topic of today is Inside Financial Crime Prevention. So this is an aspiring banker should know what exactly is that. So Mr. Bara has done BCom and then Masters in Financial Management, and he retired in the month of January 2022 from ICICI Bank, and now he is also on the advisory board of ICICI Bank for last 3 years, and he has been instrumental in setting up the training institutions where the fraud risks training is undergoing with different banks. He has been a guest speaker with Maharashtra Police Academy and for a college in Bombay. He is also attached with an NGO who is running schools in Bombay, and he is working towards mentoring and conducting orientation program for its students and alumni. We welcome you, sir, on our LinkedIn Live Session 4 series today.
Thank you, Guru Semaran ji, for having me on your program. And hello, friends who have joined. I feel uh, very nice, and it's my pleasure to be on this live panel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, I was going through your CV, and matlab it's very nice to see that you have worked in banking industry as well as in pharma and manufacturing also. So, and you have a working experience of more than 4 decades. सर, ऐसा क्या था आपके करियर में जो आपको लेके गया towards financial crime prevention and investigations?
Sure. So I'll not start directly with the financial crime investigations, but as you rightly said, career was started in the pharma, uh, moved to finance, and there was an attraction towards banking. I think that attraction remains irrespective of the time. So whether in our days or my days or even now, I'm sure everyone wants to be a banker. And I think that's absolutely great. Uh, I feel this is my someone who's with the BFSI and the banks. I think so. People look up to them, him or her, and there is great amount of respect for that particular officer because he's associated with either with a bank or a finance institution, because people appreciate that their knowledge in finance, their integrity, their styles of handling money are much more superior, and therefore uh, it is seen as a very good career. It same applied to me while I was in finance. I was all the while doing banking from the customer side and from the other side of the banker's desk, and always thought that I should, uh, you know, one day work for a bank, and I slowly worked towards it. And the first opportunity I got to get into a bank prior to my career in ICICI Bank, I was called on to set up the retail assets, write the credit manual, collection manual, and run a retail assets for a Dubai-based bank in India. I moved from there to ICICI and I handled corporate recoveries too. However, the stepping into the financial crime prevention group was a very pleasant accident. The bank, ICICI Bank, then had, in those days, 2004, had recovered almost its sticky assets. And I was made an offer to move to the retail to head the small team of financial crime officers, and from where we grew. And therefore it was a very pleasant movement from one activity of the bank to another activity of the bank. It was actually almost an offer for me to move into that, and that's how I came into that activity.
Right, right. So, how was your experience, sir, in this fraud investigations? Can you help us understand what financial crimes looks like today in Indian banking industry?
So, two questions. Let me first answer the first one. My experience was excellent. A lot of uh, a lot of insights into how a bank runs across liabilities, assets, administration, because we worked with all the departments of the bank. We were not in a particular department, and therefore we got to understand all the departments of the bank, basically operations, compliance, and the marketing and the products which were being offered under the liability scheme of things, or the assets, that is the loans and advances. So it was a very, very great experience, and that experience is even helping me to be what I am today, 3 years down my superannuation. Answering your second question, uh, what is the learnings and what is the experience currently? Uh, I think uh, the while the world of banking has undergone change, incidentally and surprisingly, the frauds have also undergone change. While the age-old frauds have not stopped, the the focus has been of the fraudsters to compromise with our very own customers, customers whom we think and call as God. So that is the challenge now. Of course, the entire country is setting up to see how we could combat them.
Right. But what exactly were the frauds look like 20 years back? Can you help us with some real life stories या कैसे fraud आपके सामने आए और and how did you prevent it that it should not happen again or
Yeah. So while the frauds 20 years back looked much simpler, uh, in some pockets there were simple frauds, in some pocket little more complicated frauds. What I mean to say is, in some locations there would be simple frauds of somebody stealing a check, forging a check, and trying to withdraw money from a customer's account physically by going to the. So it was all physical visiting a bank, visiting a premises slowly. But let me tell you, all these frauds remain even today across the industry. I'm not talking about a particular organization. All the frauds exist even today. But what grew with the industry growing was our tilt towards the demonetization or towards the web based banking. And slowly it moved there. Banks saw that maybe banks, the regulator, the law enforcement, the government saw that we need to do much more. So the banks being very proactive and wanting to keep its customer uh, to itself and growing with the customer, they did a lot of changes to ensure that their platforms were not hit by fraud. I mean to say, not everybody in the, yes, everyone is doing it today, but the larger banks, the more efficient banks, the tech savvy banks quickly changed, corrected, bought in measures to ensure that the customer and the bank is not hit. So while I persist and insist that the frauds of the past continue to happen even today, the new age frauds I understand are the digital frauds which are taking place.
So what type of digital
Okay,
fraud, sir?
so when internet banking started, say in the early 2000, uh, the fraudster, let me tell you one thing, and for information of everyone who's there on live with us, is that the fraudster is a very, very intelligent person. He's watching organizations, he's watching processes, he's watching procedures from outside. You see, he has no access, but as a customer, as a person who wants to uh, cheat a customer or maybe sometimes a bank, he's watching them. So while the banks are moving towards technology and improvising on technology, he is looking for loopholes, process lapses in banks, and trying to see if he can make money out of those lapses. What happens? He does it, then that particular bank will pull up his socks, correct it, and then move ahead. As of today, if you see, banks have great amount of uh, technological support to combat such frauds. So the fraudster is slowly moving towards it, has moved towards the customer. So he is trying to hit the customers, and customers, unfortunately, because of lack of awareness, lack of at that point of time, it could be an age, could be a customer who's suddenly got into a trap. The customer is falling prey and losing money. So the fraud perception of in the industry, while everything exists even today, the focus of the fraudsters unfortunately is on digital frauds where my customer is getting hit.
But that is fine, sir. But what type of frauds is happening? मतलब वो क्या करते हैं? कहाँ से बंदों का पैसा ही निकल जाता है अकाउंट में से?
Oh, the fraud is no longer a one man fraud. So
Okay.
it's a team, it's an entire setup. You see, way back when card skimmings were taking place, we thought that this will not come to India because somebody has to steal a card, somebody has to copy the data. So one person has to convert that data from the card to the system, from the system to a fabricated or a counterfeit card, then try and use that counterfeit card to test it and then use it to actually do a fraud. So we thought this is an entire system. This will not happen. But slowly it came into India and everybody started doing it in India too. I mean to say, the fraudsters started doing that. So the fraud has also changed. The fraud has moved from basic frauds to technological frauds. Mind you, credit card was one product which was always having the technological finesse around the product. So the people attempted on the cards, then it went to digital banking, internet banking. So it is no longer a one man show or a two-man show. It's an entire machinery which is working to defraud customers, unfortunately. And I am very, very sure and surprised that you we are not able to even see where the ultimate perpetrator is. The, the challenge today for banks, law enforcement, and the government is to try and bring down these ultimate perpetrators. Today there are layers. There's so many layers that uh, it would take some time for us to go and catch that final fraudster. So it's an entire gang of things, who are people working, gang across borders, cross borders, and everybody is. It's become a entire market. People, you get data somewhere in the dark web. It's a market. And while we say that we market our products, and as bankers and financial institutions, somewhere in the dark side there is this fraudster who is also using one another's, or systems and services to perpetrate frauds.
Right. And sir, with your experience, what do you think are the key skills required with a in an aspiring or a young banker they should develop to prevent fraud and manage risk?
So, while I think answer to this is that it is not only a department, specific department's responsibility to combat fraud. It is everyone's responsibility. In the banking industry, each employee, it is their role. If you see a fraud, if you see a process which is bad, report it, check it. You have seniors. Synergy will work. 1 plus 1 will not be 2, it will become 1 plus 1 equal to 11. Synergies will work, procedures will get changed, innovations will take place. So everyone in a bank, in a financial outfit, or a BFSI will have to have the mind to look at their products and say this product is faulty on account of fraud, or this product is vulnerable to be hit by a fraud. However, the people who work in such departments, additionally, other than banking common sense, would have to have an eye of audit, have to have an eye of vigilance. They will have to understand procedures and also work with the external stakeholders who work with banks to combat frauds. So it's one thing which is internal, one things, and of course the knowledge of technology will come as an added bonus. So it's one thing to have understanding, common sense, common banking sense, but it's also the readiness to work with the external world, so that the world, the external world, as in the external stakeholders, will work with the bank to combat such frauds and to uh, keep the fraudsters away. That is, I think, the qualities one would want to gather to also work in a specific department like this.
Right, right. And sir, could you walk us through a case that was particularly complex and what made it stand out?
Uh, yes, if I talk of, you see, cases, let me also tell you that frauds are perpetrated by people in this, basically in this banking system, not necessarily in the organization. Unfortunately, you could have a few black apples in the organizations. The organizations are growing. Banks as an industry is growing. It's doing is as much for its employees, and therefore uh, there are not many who would want to be on the other side of the banks or financial institutions. It is the atmosphere, the people in the atmosphere who think they can make quick money are actually perpetrating frauds. So uh, the whole system is actually working. Some of them who are working against the banks and financial institutions, but the knowledge of working against these frauds or combating these frauds have slowly have to get, uh, you know, we have to learn from them. Now, if you look at if I can just talk to you about a case, there are various cases, in my long career of looking at such cases. Uh, we have seen that normally the fraudster is watching every process or every product of a particular bank, and he's watching it for all the banks or most of the large banks. So I saw, when we started doing agricultural funding, we realized that we had to really build our systems around not only what we were lending, but also in the infrastructure where our security would be kept, because it was almost lending against securities, lending against pledge of the securities, keeping the securities. So we had to learn what is warehousing, capacities of warehousing. So all this we slowly learned when we progressed ahead, and unfortunately got hit by a certain amount of frauds. So we learned that business. We mastered that business. we mastered the credit card business, uh, because credit card came as a very exclusive service provided by banks to its customers. We learned how credit card works, how the data and technology of credit cards have to be protected, and the basic frauds around bank accounts against loans. We learned a lot when we did a lot of home loan business. You see, home loan property is a very state level issue. So every state has a different nuance or a different rule of how the property is accounted for, how the mortgage can be created. So we learned all this with a certain amount of hits. We immediately pulled our socks, corrected our ways, improvised, uh, bought in innovations to make the product and make the blending very safe. So we learned around all each and every business which we did. We quickly did course corrections. We did more than course corrections so that our products could be the best, and not only customer delight but also least amount of fraud. That's exactly what if you put in too many security features, and the product becomes not very delightful to handle, that would create an disequilibrium. So we had to do all that. So our role of our contribution to the organizations was telling them where maybe we need to do course corrections. So that's we learned across each product of handling in the bank.
Right. So I'll request my audience, you may ask some questions to sir once we are over with the basics, what we have to discuss, and then you can pour in your questions in the comment section. So going ahead, sir, uh, you have worked closely with police and enforcement agencies across India. uh, so, matlab, how did it look like, matlab, as a layman or a new banker joining in banking, and then maybe he has or she has some interest in joining the fraud prevention department or something like that. So, वो मतलब आप पुलिस वालों के साथ बात करते थे, ईडी वालों के साथ बात करते होगे. So, वो कैसा एक्सपीरियंस रहा आपका? Can you share some moments
So
of
your
that?
question is in continuation to your earlier question of what all we need to gather as a young employee in maybe a fraud prevention unit. So extension to that question is, when we deal with the external stakeholders, you see, very importantly, bankers, young or experienced bankers, have to have this in mind, that there are external stakeholders who are very, very important for the bank. Of course, customer is God, but stakeholders like the law enforcement agencies. Now, if I can work with the law enforcement agency and generate synergy, only then I will be able to set deterrents so that fraudsters don't look at me or don't try and hit me. So it is equally important for us to go to the police, take our cases of fraud, uh, and get deterrents and action taken. Book the fraudsters, eradicate them from that particular activity. Uh, so therefore, there is a lot of interface. Secondly, we should also realize that it is not that only because of my requirement I am going to him. I am also trying to train and make a policeman aware ki what are financial frauds. The police people are absolutely good in a assault, in a murder, those type of crimes. But the white collar crimes, unless I don't explain to them, how will they understand and investigate a case of mine or of any other bank which has come to them? Because they are such a strong stakeholder, that when they crack a case and when they are able to book the criminal, a strong deterrence is set. So can I live without them? Certainly not. I can only again gather synergy, get them to take action, and make my banking more safe for myself and my customers. And therefore, they are an important stakeholder. We need to handle them. They will listen to us. When we go to them, we train them. When we train them, they have great amount of regard for us. Ki, you have trained us for financial crimes. You have you have brought us knowledge of a certain type which we never had. We respect you, and therefore we will look at your complaint with uh, the official law keeping the law in mind, and we will do justice to your cases. So that helps. So that initial walking the first mile is for us to do.
Right, right. So, sir, how can leaders in banks and training institutions build a culture where fraud prevention and integrity are not afterthoughts but a part of everyday
So two
work?
things. One is culture for work, and two is integrity. So let me first answer the culture for work. I think so. Organizations uh, are not from now, but from maybe at least for the last 30 years, I'm seeing there is a lot of focus in financial crime prevention. So that has come top down, because it has to come top down because there is a lot of infrastructure which is required uh, to have or to wage such battles and to keep the fraudster away. So that infrastructure, that understanding that this is an important department, it's not only a cost center. By catching or preventing frauds, you're actually saving money. So therefore, that culture comes down from top down in organizations like ours, and which comes for very large organizations and very smart organizations. This has come much earlier than the regular, much before the regulator also emphasized such requirements. So whether it was fraud controlled units, the vigilance units, I'm talking of private banks also. This all was set up proactively by banks. And on integrity, I think integrity obviously is a top down activity. It will, integrity is professed by people, the senior people, and uh, passed on to the last leg in the bank to say this is integrity compromise is a zero tolerance activity. One, two, uh, most of the banks take good care of its employees. They feel employees is one of the strongest stakeholder, and because they do such activity, um, that that understanding of integrity to the last officer uh, is going down very well, and that is the requirement that uh, we will be above board.
Right, right. So, looking back, what has been your personal North Star when facing complex or high stake fraud situations?
My North Star would be, what is my North Star, is your question?
Yes,
So
your personal North Stars.
the personal North Star, if I think, I thought this is a place where I flourished. I'm talking about it very personally. I flourished because this was an activity which was not known to many people, known to a handful. And when we went there, we flourished because we did well in understanding. We understood that we may not bring in 500 crores of profit to an organization, but by being the foot soldiers, protecting the bank's interest, protecting the bank's capital, we thought that we were contributing equally. Uh, you know, uh, Being on the front for any type of crisis, any type of fraud crisis, it gave us that pleasure and pride that we also saved for the organization. And that got translated in the way the organization looked at our unit, saying these are the foot soldiers of the organization. Let us be behind them. Let us back them uh, for in every crisis, in every situation, and that made us, very proud bankers. It's like we could, without getting a medal, we actually had our chests very broad because we fought for the organization when it came to crisis situations.
Right. And sir, what advice would you give to someone leading a team responsible for investigation or risk management for the first time?
So fraud risk, somebody who is trying to work, and not only work but even lead a team, as you ask, I think very importantly we need to come with a thought that customer is paramount, customer is God. My customer can be the customer of the bank, but my customer is also the other departments of the bank where unfortunately a fraud is taking place, or where I am suggesting preventive measures. So my other departments are also my customers. So here, for these set of people, one is to learn, understand banking, because this is a non-standard type of activity. Of course, it's now getting standardized with so much of focus by banks and regulator, but not not only learn banking, not only learn products, but uh, be clear in mind that integrity is paramount. There is zero tolerance for integrity. Learning now, of course, learning, having technological understanding, because technology is so much the niche activity which even a fraud control department will use to look at the way banking is done. So, knowledge of technology, knowledge of compliance, audit, these are the things which will make you a better officer in a fraud control unit. However, most importantly, it is integrity. I also would tell my colleagues that we don't need to be very, very aggressive in our action. We are not the policemen. We are only finding fault where the organization would have lost on some account. We are not the policemen. Every colleague of mine is a colleague, unless unfortunately there is something where he is involved. Using the word involved. Criminal negligence and civil negligence are two different things. So till I can establish, I treat my fellow banker as a fellow banker.
Right, right. So there is one Nisha Rani. She is saying कि सर कुछ हिंदी में बता दो, मेरे को इंग्लिश ज़्यादा समझ में नहीं आ रही है. So if you can summarize the topic of today, the fraud prevention, financial crime prevention.
श्योर
In
सर, 2 मिनट लूंगा निशा जी को बताने में कि हमारी जो अभी तक गुरसिमरन जी से जो बात हो रही थी कि एक तो ये डिपार्टमेंट में आप कैसे आए, तो मेरे लिए एक बड़ा प्लेजेंट सरप्राइज था, क्योंकि मुझे ये ऑफर की गई थी कि आप इस डिपार्टमेंट में आइए एंड एक यूनिट को हेड करिए. तो मेरा वो जो ट्रैवल जर्नी था वो बहुत अच्छा था एंड मैं बहुत अचीवमेंट फील करता हूँ इसके बारे में. सर ने फिर पूछा कि कैसे टाइप के फ्रॉड हो रहे हैं. मैंने सर को ये कहा कि सारे टाइप के फ्रॉड बैंकों में, बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री में हो रही है. मैं एक बैंक की बात नहीं कर सकूंगा. मैं जब भी जाता हूँ मैं सब टाइप के फ्रॉड्स हो रहे हैं. लेकिन आज के ज़माने का जो फ्रॉड है, जो डिजिटल फ्रॉड है, जो पहले थोड़ा बैंकिंग सिस्टम पे था, बैंकर्स ने अपना टेक्नोलॉजी लगा के इनोवेशन करके बहुत कुछ ठीक ठाक कर लिया, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट कर लिया और बेहतर कर लिया. लेकिन कस्टमर्स की तरफ उनका झुकाव हुआ कि मैं कस्टमर को डिफ्रॉड कर सकता हूँ या कस्टमर को मैं चीट कर सकता हूँ. तो उस कस्टमर की तरफ जब उनका रुझान गया, तब हमने क्या किया, हमको लगा कि टेक्नोलॉजी को बढ़ाएंगे और ताकि हम कस्टमर को बहुत एक क्लीन बैंकिंग, एक इजी बैंकिंग, एक सिक्योर्ड बैंकिंग दे सके. एक वो किया हमने, और दूसरा हमने कस्टमर अवेयरनेस को बढ़ा दिया. तो ये मैंने सर को बोला, और सर से मैंने और एक बात करी कि जो एक्सटर्नल स्टेक होल्डर्स है, जो मेरे लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, लाइक अ गवर्नमेंट, लाइक अ पुलिस, लाइक एनी अदर लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसी, यस, इन सारों के साथ हमने बड़ा प्रोफेशनल इंटरफेस बनाया. हमने उनको ट्रेनिंग किया, जो हम जानते थे फाइनेंशियल क्राइम्स के बारे में, हमने उनको बताया. हमने बताया कि ऐसे केसेस जब आएंगे, आपको बैंकों को क्या पूछना है, आपने किस तरफ उसका इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना है. जब हम ये उनको बताए, तब हमको पुलिस वाला भी सोचने लगा ये तो हमारा ही आदमी है, बैठो बैठो बैठो, अच्छा ये सब देना, आपका कहाँ फ्रॉड हुआ बताइए, चलो साथ में लड़ते हैं. तो हमने जब साथ में हम फील्ड पे काम करे, तो हमको 1+1 11 हो गया. मतलब ये सिनर्जी मिली हमको, एंड हमने रिकवरी भी की सारे. सर, मैं रिकवरी डिपार्टमेंट से नहीं हूँ, हम लोग अलग डिपार्टमेंट से, फ्रॉड कंट्रोल से. लेकिन जो फ्रॉड में जो पैसा गया, उसमें से भी बहुत कुछ पैसा हम वापस ला पाए, एंड वी देयरफॉर एडेड टू द बॉटम लाइन ऑल्सो सर. तो ये हमने एक्सप्लेन किया सर. सो आई थॉट इन समरी हमने ये कहा.
yeah. Sir, one another question is, sir, how can anyone in branch banking blow whistle without any fear? How do
Yes.
banks encourage it?
So that's an excellent question, sir. All banks have been mandated to have विसिल ब्लोअर पॉलिसी. मैं हिंदी में कहूँगा कि सारे बैंकों को ये कंपलसरी है सर. विजिलेंस यूनिट होना कंपलसरी है, फ्रॉड प्रिवेंशन यूनिट होना कंपलसरी. वैसे ही एक विसिल ब्लोअर पॉलिसी का एक कंपल्शन है, यानी उसकी एक अलग यूनिट होती है जो हर कंप्लेंट को देखती है, उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट करके एग्जैक्टली क्या है वो बताती है. और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात जो आरबीआई ने भी कहा है विसिल ब्लोअर में, कि आपको जो जिसने विसिल ब्लो किया, जिसने कंप्लेंट किया, यू हैव टू कीप हिज आइडेंटिटी, यू हैव टू कीप हिम सेफ, ही कैन नॉट बी कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड अपॉन. सो वो एक चैलेंज है. बैंक्स are trying to achieve that and ensure that the whistleblower is not put to unnecessary trouble. See, he has blown the whistle. He has told you it is for you to find out what is wrong in your side, your end, if it is, and go and find out the facts and set everything correct. You don't need to go back to him saying, "और बताओ या कुछ और आपके पास क्या जानकारी." Once he tells you, he's giving you a direction in the darkness. Take that direction and go ahead, and keep him safe. So, ये philosophy is being accepted and followed in the bank as a principle.
Right. So there is one another question, sir. How can we build a culture of ethical behavior to reduce instances of internal fraud?
Sir, it's a slightly global question. So, as I said in my earlier answers also, that uh, integrity, professionalism, all that comes from top down. It's not that I don't have it in me, but when an organization talks about it, practices it, it will percolate down to the last officer, and that is very important to demonstrate. So who can demonstrate? It is the top senior management who demonstrates, and over a period of time you will find everyone demonstrating the same thing, following the same thing. So it looks that this is a very compliant and ethical organization, because over the years the seniors took it upon them to demonstrate being ethical, to demonstrate being professional, to demonstrate being compliant. So today it is just in the air, but it started with the seniors. टुडे मैं मतलब एक रूम में अगर मैं प्रवेश करूंगा तो सुगंधित फील होगा, क्योंकि किसी ने उसकी शुरुआत की सर, एंड वो आज सारा रूम सुगंधित है, वैसे ही है सर ये.
Right. Nice, sir. So our common friend Mahesh Ingorani ji is saying technology is a two-way sword. It is helping fraudsters in perpetrating fraud
Perpetrating faults.
by identifying vulnerable areas, and vulnerable customers, and technology also helps in fraud prevention and detection.
Yes, Mahesh ji, you're absolutely correct. It's like saying nuclear energy. Obviously, there are.
सर आपकी आवाज थोड़ी धीमी हो गई है, बंद हो गई है.
Sorry, I by mistake muted myself.
Yeah.
So Mahesh ji, you have a right. Your question is absolutely right. I also say there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. Giving you an example of nuclear energy, there are thousands of advantages from developmental perspective. There is obviously a negative part to it. How does a set of people work towards it and makes that one person who thinks here is a fraudster, that you cannot do fraud with me, is the same thing, sir. I will use technology for everything. I will use technology to analyze. I will use technology to grant, to come out with red flags. I will use technology to make my last banker and my process technologically driven, so that I save time. I have enough to find out faults if there is a fault somewhere. So I will use it for my benefit. Yes, the same fraudster is also watching me. I don't think he can combat with the banking industry with the regulator. He is hitting one particular bank at a particular point of time. That bank has to gear up and make itself compliant and protected. Large banks, most of the banks today are absolutely controlled by technology, doing enough to get off so much of synergies. Therefore, I am telling you, Maheshji, ki the fraudster is now looking at the vulnerable customer, because my customer is of all types of features. He's an old customer, he's a young customer, he's an educated customer, he's a partially educated customer, he's a knowledgeable, he's a non-knowledgeable, he's a tech savvy, he's a non-tech savvy customer. Whereas I'm providing, not I, as entire banking is providing all the services have become basic, sir. Can a bank say कि मैं internet banking नहीं करूँगा? I will be out of business, sir. But how safe my internet banking platform is, how much awareness I do with my customers, how much awareness I do with my employees, how much how much I tell my employees that integrity is non-integrity is zero tolerance. You may commit a mistake, but you cannot be involved. If I'm doing all this and I use technology as an advantage, I think so I have made my day, sir.
Right. So Amrita is asking, sir, what early warning signs should bankers watch for to detect potential fraud?
Uh, I'll only go by an example. So let's look at the digital frauds which are taking place today. Uh, the early warning signals. See, the digital frauds, there are two aspects. So one is my customer who's my God, correct? Who unfortunately is a victim. In the same breath, there are accounts which are opened in various banks which are carrying this stolen money. So is it not my responsibility while I'm making my customer super aware, but also see what type of bank accounts are there with me? So I have to use technology to look at the accounts which which I'm going to open, whether I can give triggers to my branch officer, tell my branch officer that you are the last leg on the field. Your ears and eyes should be open to understand that there is a profile issue here, there is a business issue here in the account. Should I open this account or not open this account? Give technological support to say, look at the account which you have opened has so many red flags. Do you want to look at this, apply it, then close the account if you have opened it, or not only look at this account. So technology is going to be a support to my human intelligence, to that office last officer on the field who is actually meeting that prospective customer. So I think so it's going to play a very, very large role. There are various things which are happening in banking, sir, when it is looking at the branch accounts and the bank accounts which are being opened prior to opening, at the time of opening, immediately after opening, and over the period of the account's life cycle with the bank. Every At all these stages, the accounts are being watched. It's like a continuous KYC I'm doing of accounts. Where I'm seeing a problem account, I'm weeding it out of my system. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So technology is no choice, and it's only going to be adding value to my uh, daily banking.
So Smita is asking which type of frauds are more common in banking today.
Smita ji, I think all the frauds are taking place, but the concern today, I would think, is digital banking, digital accounts, digital frauds, basically on my customers, which is happening. That is the most prevalent today. But yes, there is a home loan fraud happening. Home loan is a home property is a very state subject. So every state has a different way of creating a mortgage or registering a mortgage or creating a charge on an asset. So these are the frauds which fraudsters try and beat in the various states. So all types of frauds are happening, but today the concern is digital frauds on my customers. And
Right,
I'm talking this from the industry, sir. I'm not talking it from any a particular organization.
right. So these were the questions, sir. Some comments are also there. Vivek Malhotra is saying digital arrest scams are very common nowadays. Government of India and financial institutions are creating a lot of awareness policy around it. Cross.
So through your forum, I would like to also bring in one thing, if you allow me,
Yes,
Gursimranji, is yes, the digital arrest is one of those 15, 16 type of frauds which customers are being. You see, we are a very large country, rural, urban, semi-urban. So various types of people are being hit. Yes, they are being hit, but the responsibility of banks to educate our customers, to educate our employees, the government is doing a lot of work. This number called 1930, which is a contact number of the Ministry of Home Affairs, who is working to combat and save money of fraudsters who are losing money. The police, all this is an entire machinery which is working, and this machinery is working to ensure that my customer is the least hit. We are going through a flux where customer is being hit because of lack of awareness, many a times pressure at work, and he doesn't realize what he's done, and sometimes even greed. But these type of frauds, uh, banks are trying to combat using the law enforcement, using the Ministry of Home Affairs infrastructure to save money of the innocent bankers. You see, bank our customers are very innocent, uh, and they we need to make them continuously aware of what to do and what not to do, which banks, I think so, are bank, the regulator, the police, and the government is doing very well today.
right. So just B sir is saying most of the frauds in credit happen in mortgages, and takeover of loans from another bank. In operations, most frauds happen in digital banking. Everyone has to be vigilant to prevent frauds.
So I can't agree more with what Jasbir is saying, but uh, Jasbir is, I think so, kept in mind while writing this comment is on the retail banking activity. So in retail banking, home loan fraud, as I said, because our loans are of larger ticket size, we need to be vigilant, and there's an external factor. The security is entirely external. It is a property, and as I said, it's a state matter. Securitization or creating charge on that security is little different in every state. So that's why the complications.
Right. So Yogita is asking, how does banks integrate data analysis and AI into financial crime prevention efforts? And what are the challenges and opportunities associated with this approach?
See, I can only say that technology is being used to its best. Uh, for the organization from where I came, we use technology uh, much before a lot of other organizations brought technology as a cutting edge, and because we use it too much in advance or much before a lot of other banks could do it, we could convert that technology cost almost one tenth of the cost which was available in the industry. So technology got used right from then. Now of course it's become normal, and everyone has to use technology to fight frauds. RBI themselves have mandated, various things like AI, going on to a new platform, the recent circulars. So even RBI is working. If you say technology, even OTP, if you say which, when we did internet transactions, OTP came way back in 2009. No, it's only in our country that OTP came as a second factor authentication. A lot of other countries abroad didn't have OTP till recently or not even now. So technology is being used by all to keep the bank and the customer safe.
Right. So last question, sir, we will take of Kumar Rahul. He is asking, as an auditor, how could we detect the probability of fraud during the inspection of branch?
So if you are in the role of an auditor, I would think uh, you need to call for those reports, like you call for the branch report, audit report. You should also call for those triggers which the centralized fraud control unit or the technology unit has given to the branch, saying these are red flags, whether they could visit these red flags and find something more. Doing a thematic audit, let's say, just giving you an example, let's say the branch has jewel loans. Why don't we do a thematic audit on the jewel loans given by the branch? So you will do your audit of transactions in the normal course, but you will also call for these type of inputs centrally which has been given to the bank, to those branches, to find out whether there is a trigger on which you can do focused work. Then I said also thematic audits of opening account opening, thematic audits on a jewel loan business, so on and so forth. That is what I would suggest to an auditor from a fraud perspective finding.
Right, right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the insights today. And this was our session 4 for on the topic of this banking insights unplugged. And you enlightened us with the financial crime prevention, and you have been a pioneer in this field. So thank you once again from the Institute of Professional Banking and the audience which joined today on LinkedIn Live. So any last words, sir, from your side? Sir, we lost your voice, sir.
Let me thank you, firstly, you, Guru Samranji, you and your institute, and all your guests. Mr. Mahesh is also here, and thank you, Mr. Mahesh. Uh, it was my pleasure. I don't know whether I am I am the way you think about me. I'm a common soldier of the was the common soldier of the organization. The organization made us. Uh, but the knowledge which we have, we are sharing. Even I'm teaching in colleges. Very little being taught about financial and digital crimes in colleges. Smaller banks than the large banks. So trying to share information, trying to share the best practices. So that is my pleasure. My only thing here is with uh, boys and girls who are connected to your institute. This is also a profession which one can look at. You don't really need great different qualifications, banking acumen, and passion to do this work, you will do well in this type of departments. So it's a new foray for you. Yes, there is this ACFE course. There are a lot of cyber security courses, but predominantly an officer, a boy and a girl, should have that bent of a mind that I want to look at fraud as a challenge. uh, you'll also get to learn a lot of other departments while you are in this department, because you are looking at all the departments, and not forgetting that you are also doing a very silent service to your organization by by preventing, detecting, and combating the frauds. So that acknowledgement during the course of your career will certainly come from your organization to you. And that's my, I thought I should share that opinion about mine.
Right. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you for your time and wisdom, sir.
Pleasure
There
was
is
mine. Pleasure was mine. Thank you.
one comment from Jogeshwar Singh. I think he is also from ICICI Bank earlier. He is saying that IPB is doing wonderful. Yeah, that always be vigilant to prevent frauds and another comments coming up. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.